Hey, so this is my module 4 project. So this one was probably out of the past three, this one is easily the worst one. So the goal of this project was to get a functioning Firebase database that was integrated with an HTML website. Basically just a form, and you write out stuff, and it submits it, saves in the database, and then at basically instant speed retrieves it. Um, This isn't too difficult a thing to do. You can probably do this in about an hour. The only issue is nothing I could do would fix this at all, and it did not end up working. And I figured I would just put that in here anyways because I spent about 6 hours on part of this and another 5 on the other part. Um, and so this is what is working. And so you just start off with your doc type and your HTML, the usual stuff. All these scripts get different things down from Firebase. So I learned how to use Firebase or Firestore set up on Firebase and not Firebase set up on GitHub. And there is a way to set up Firebase on GitHub. I just have not used that, and I do not have the time to use that. I'm just trying to get done what I can. Um, and that's something else that I could definitely improve about this. But yeah, so here's all the different built-in Firebase scripts that it uses, and then down here, this is just some styling for it. So this was code from the cloud computing class. I'm not sure if they still have that class, but oh no, this code isn't. This is what Firebase gives you when it pulls up. Let me pull up projects.html. This is what the school gives me. So the first thing this does is it pulls in the right UTF language codes, all that. Um, Connects to config. Oh, it defers this. I was like, wait a minute, does it defer that? So it defers this code, and this just retrieves get Firestore, which basically pulls down the database collection, which pulls down an interactable database, and then add doc means you can access doc. No, that means you can add documents or entries to the database, and then get docs means that you can retrieve them. And so this sets a new app as Firebase config, and this sets get Firestore app, and so that basically gets the database that's connected to our app. And then I'll go down here, and so this adds an event listener to the add project form, and when you click on that, it goes down to here and retrieves the two user values. Pretty simple. Um, so this base project that the class gives you, it only lets you input a project with its title and description. And for our habit link final project, we wanted it to hold um, a couple dates. I don't remember everything, but it was a couple dates. It was saved to the user. It also had different, like what the actual goal was. It had the different sprite PNG coordinates, a bunch of stuff like that. And so in the actual one, this would be a lot longer. There'd be about probably 10 or 15 of these, and not all of these would be generated from a form. Some of them would be generated dynamically. So for the sprite, for instance, there's about I think 15 or 16 animals. The user just selects from a drop down and say, okay, I want the snake habit link, and then it translates that selection into a set of PNG coordinates, and then it uploads that into down here when let me see, where does it add it? When it adds a doc right there. And so you would just have, oh, DB projects, and then it would just have title, title, description, description, and so on. Yeah, and so this is just so it tries to add a new project or new entry. For instance, the document pulls down collection. Collection just means it accesses the document, and then this says this is our current database, and then into the projects collection. You can have multiple databases connected to the same project, or not the same project, multiple databases connected to um, the same app on Firebase. And then this sets the title to our local variable title and description to local variable description. And then if it works, it was successfully added. And then it refetches the projects and projects any new ones. And then if not, error writing project. Check the console for details. And then this is the list, and this retrieves everything by the ID projects list. And then This function will just wait to retrieve everything from getDocs, which pulls down the whole database, and then for each, and this basically generates a list of all of your projects, and then for each project inside of that, it's gonna basically fill in as a list item the display ones. So this is gonna say we're gonna create a list item. We're gonna populate it with these little $ escape tags. So we're gonna input project.description, and this is how you access things from a database entry in there. You have this is project is a local variable because it's for each project inside of this, and then dot title retrieves it from that. Technically, you could also do doc.data dot title or doc.data dot description, but this is kind of an easy way to shorthand do it. And then you just append the next item, and then if not, it just says error getting projects. And then this is just the HTML for it. Let's take a look at the config.js. The JavaScript in here this is just the Firebase config, API key, all this stuff. Something else that I'm kind of confused about with GitHub is this information should not be public if the database was important. This database is not. I do not care what happens to it. So this is public on GitHub, but this does give me an error. Not an error, but a warning when it's on there because this is sensitive information if it was a legitimate database. So I need to learn more about how on GitHub I can censor certain files, because this file by no means should be viewable by anyone but people that have access to the project. So this is just the given one. This link is in there from the cloud computing class, and this is really easy working, not that hard. The second part of it is adding authentication and then also adding the ability to drop and delete projects. I got drop and delete to work. It's not showing up in there. I'll go to that in a second. And so this is the other one that I have, and this is also from cloud computing. And then I eventually went in here and yeah, this is something that chat completely generated because I was just so lost with it, and the Firebase documentation that I was given from Brother McGarry just it helped me set up the database, but it didn't help me set up how to connect it with this and how to actually go into Firebase and do it. Coding wise, it was great, but it just didn't work from there. And so this was basically the same thing: project name, description, and duration. And so this gives it 3 things instead of 2 because I just wanted to see how it worked. And so the idea is all this goes through, and then config. Um, config basically is the same thing where you have an event listener that listens, and then when it finds that, it just imports everything as the. This also has the user UID. This I could not get to work either, and I ran through stuff, did not work. Basically, what this is supposed to have is a button on the side that the user could click, and it would open up. A built-in Google pop-up window. That is it's somewhere up here. Sign with pop-up. And this is currently used in our final project, where it just pops up a little thing, and it's built in with Google. You don't have to do any formatting for it. You can do formatting on it if you want. That's just where you set the default CSS for any pop-ups, which isn't too difficult. You just have to add an extra media query in there. And so this just opened up a little Google window. It's actually, I was looking it up, it's actually best practice to not modify that window so people think that it's more trustworthy. And so you just sign in from there. And this also imports the sign out function. So the thing is, I know how this works. It just didn't get to work. I know how everything retrieves the variables. So I know that getAuth basically gets the user's UID, and then you can assign it to a variable from there. And then Google Auth Provider, basically you tell it when you're retrieving the authentication that this authentication is based off of Google. And so it basically connects a road to Google to say, okay, when I'm looking for get authentication, I'm going to go to Google to find it. I'm not going to look through a list of emails or a database full of passwords and emails or usernames. I'm going to go straight to Google. And sign out, pretty much in the name, it basically just disconnects you. Add doc, query, where, and get docs. This is all, I want to add a document to it. I want to retrieve the documents from a collection, retrieve the database collection. Query is, you can select, query lets you select through them. So I think the issue with this one was it didn't save it to a specific user. It saved it to just a folder of all habits or projects in this case. And query is supposed to have, so what query does is when you go in there, excuse me, um, it says, okay, I'm going to go through all the projects, and then for each project that is owned by your user ID, we're going to display it. And that sounds like a good thing. The only issue is, say this app gets massive and you have tons and tons of people on it. You are not going to be able to do all of that. Because if you have a couple thousand entries, you're going to have to query through every single one. That's going to take a lot of time. That's a lot of money running that server. Um, but that's why you want to save each habit or project, in this case, to the individual user, because querying through a list of users is significantly shorter than querying through a list of items that belong to several users on a many-to-one basis. One user can have tons of different habits, but users do not share habits, and so that was the big reason why we need that authentication to work as a database header and not just as that, because it's a security risk and a processing risk. I did not get this to work. In all honesty, I probably could have spent a lot more time on this, but I figured I might as well submit what I have, and just I did work on this. Spent quite a while on it. It just sadly was not able to get working. And yeah, thank you for at least watching this and seeing what I did manage to do.